Imagine for a second being on top of the world, the heartthrob of one of the biggest TV series ever, and then imagine battling a shadow that threatens it all. No, this isn't a Game of Thrones plot twist. This is Kit Harington's real life journey, from the height of Winterfell to the depths of addiction. Discover in this video why Kit chose sobriety over the seduction of the spotlight. We're going to uncover the truths, the struggles, and the triumphs. Today, we're going to dive deep into the tale of a king who conquered his own demons. And just before we get into the video, if you want details on Stop Drinking Coaching, where we help you reframe the way that you view alcohol, and then we use coaching to really focus on building a great life without it, please go ahead and click the link in the description. You can book a free call and we can see if the Sober Clear program could be a good match for you. We typically work with business owners, professionals, and high achievers who have already tried things like AA, therapy, rehab, willpower, but they don't want to do it that way. They want a different way of doing things. So if you want details, book the call or just go to soberclear.com. And now back to the video. So, born in London in 1986, Christopher Catesby Harrington had a relatively uneventful childhood. Coming from a middle-class family, he got involved with acting as a teenager and performed with his school theatre. After high school, he attended drama school in London at the university level, graduating in 2008. After some minor roles, he would get his big break in 2011. That was the year that he was cast as Jon Snow in the HBO fantasy series Game of Thrones, also my favourite series of all time. The show would go on to run for 8 seasons. In the process, it would shatter all sorts of viewership records and go down in history as one of the most successful television series ever. Widely praised by critics for his performance as Snow, Harrington ended up becoming one of the highest paid actors on television. At one point, he was reportedly collecting $2 million per episode. He would also go on to star in a number of films on the big screen, one of those recently being 2021 Marvel Comics superhero film Eternals. You might have also heard him lend his voice in the second and third installment of DreamWorks' smash hit franchise, How to Train Your Dragon. Now, all of these successful ventures have made the 36-year-old a very wealthy man, and he is now sitting on top of an estimated fortune of $14 million. Harrington spends his free time in his lavish estate in the English countryside. He purchased this in 2017 for a reported $2.1 million, and he lives there with his wife, Game of Thrones co-star Rose Leslie. After playing the part of on-screen lovers in the second season of the series, the pair would go on to date in real life, before eventually tying the knot in 2018. A few weeks before the 8th and final season of Game of Thrones ended, it was revealed that Harrington was actually headed to rehab. In a statement to the press, his rep stated, quote, "Kit has decided to utilize this break in his schedule as an opportunity to spend some time at a wellness retreat to work on some personal issues." Now, from sources close to the star, it would soon be leaked that he was battling with a drinking problem as well as stress. You see, the end of the series was looming as a landmark of immense significance in his life. According to a clinical psychologist who commented on the story at the time, the loss of a gig as big as a leading role in Game of Thrones, along with all the fame and status, can be immense. So immense, actually, that it's hard for regular people who have never been in that position to even imagine. Now, another reason for the timing of Harrington's rehab might have been, well, more practical. As Game of Thrones wound down, the star might have finally had some time to reflect and then address his personal issues. Ironically, things were aggravated by the fact that in later seasons of the show, Harrington's character, Jon Snow, would be smack in the center of the series spotlight. Whilst in the early seasons, his character was just one amongst many. Later on, he became central to the narrative. During an interview at the same year he entered rehab, he had this to say: "When you become the cliffhanger of a TV show, and a TV show probably at the height of its power, the focus on you is terrifying." To those who had been paying attention, there were signs that something was not quite right in the star's life. In 2018, Harrington got kicked out of a New York pool bar for being loud and aggressive. And in other photographs that would surface over the coming weeks, Harrington could be seen on the streets of Paris, apparently intoxicated, stumbling around in front of oncoming cars. His stay at the luxury Connecticut rehab, Privé Suisse, would not come cheap. With a price tag of around $120,000 a month, this facility prides itself on, quote, "private, sequestered, all one-to-one customer, clinical and holistic care." Privé Suisse do not advertise, nor do they have much of a social media presence. Their reputation grows by word of mouth in the circles of CEOs, Hollywood stars, and other celebrities. The facilities and services include a fitness studio, Pilates, acupuncture, infrared sauna, therapeutic massages, and more. And details of Harrington's stay at Privé Suisse were few and hard to come by. But what we do know is that his treatment was successful, and by all accounts, he has not had a drink since. In a 2021 interview with the Sunday Times, the star would open up about his addiction troubles and his path to sobriety. He admitted to dealing with depression so severe that it made him think the unthinkable. And here's the crazy thing, when he was asked if he had ever considered suicide, he didn't mince his words. Quote, "I will give you an answer to that question, and the answer is yes. Yes, of course. I went through periods of real depression where I wanted to do all sorts of things." Though he did avoid disclosing details about the particular events that led him to rehab, Harrington was very forthcoming with regards to the main takeaway from sobriety. In one word, change. Quote, "One of my favorite things that I learned recently is that the expression, 'a leopard doesn't change its spots,' is completely false. That a leopard actually does change its spots. I just think that's the most beautiful thing. It really helped." That was something I kind of clung onto. The idea that I could make this huge, fundamental change in who I was and how I went about my life. In another interview around this time, the star revealed that after the Game of Thrones finale, he took a break from working for a full year. The time to unwind and work on himself would turn out to be very beneficial. To aid in his recovery, Harrington can count on the support of his loving wife, Rose Leslie. In an interview with Harper's Bazaar, Leslie would reveal that she had found value support in Al-Anon. This is an organization for relatives and loved ones of people struggling with addiction. But for all of her love and the support of the Al-Anon community, she recognizes that at its core, Harrington's sobriety is all down to him. Quote, "No amount of nannying is going to be able to stop him from doing what he decides to do. I don't choose to put that pressure on myself. The responsibility of his behavior is on him. It's not on me to guard him from it." Anyway, awesome story, and if you click the video on the screen now, you can learn why a drinking problem exists with a new system to gaining control.